What's up everybody, my name is Chris and today I want to talk to you about the small condenser microphone Behringer C-2. This comes in a stereo set of 2 microphones and it costs around 40 euros. Let's jump into it. A quick disclaimer before we jump into this video. None of the companies mentioned in this video or in the videos regarding this series are sponsoring any of this. All of these tests are done because I'm looking for the perfect microphone to put overhead into my YouTube studio and also use in other kind of environments. For the most part, however, I'm looking for something that does reject the echo and room reverberance very well, does not have a strong noise floor, and of course, I also am looking to upgrade my sound. I'm not going to cover any instrument recording with these microphones since that is not what I'm doing. I usually only record pretty much always my voice as well as sometimes other people's voices. Now I also want you to know the environment that I'm doing all of these tests in, and that basically is my YouTube studio. As you can see on the screen, it's a fairly large room which has a lot of reverberance and echo. I've tried treating this room with the rugs on the floor as well as this kind of like sound blanket curtain that is almost separating the room into 2 halves. This is what you get, and this is the environment that I'm filming with. I do think that this is kind of perfect because it is an imperfect environment, and to make those tests in exactly this environment I think makes a lot of sense because not everybody can fully treat their room and have the perfect environment. Additionally, I also think that it's important to mention that all of the recordings are done with the Zoom F6, the 32-bit float wave file recording in 48 kHz. And last but not least, the normalization of this video as well as the audio tests is done to -16 LKFS, which is basically the same as LUFS. This is done with loudness control in Isotopes RX8, and you can see the settings that I used on the screen. Now that we have all that covered, let's jump into the video. Now this microphone set is really impressive. It comes in a nice plastic box, and opening this up, you have a bracket for stereo mounting if that's something that you want to do. You get both of the microphones here. You have 2 microphone holders as well as 2 pop filters or windscreens. Now these types of microphones are really interesting for music recording, but as I've mentioned in the intro, I'm not going to focus on that, but instead we are going to talk about overhead mounting and use for voice dialogue recording indoors. This is because these types of microphones have a benefit comparing them to the normal shotgun microphones, that they don't have as much of a reverberance when used indoors. And this is exactly the use case that I want to use it for. As you probably guess, this is already in use here. I have the Behringer C-2 microphone up here. This comes with a Hypercardioid capsule and it is mounted overhead, recording into the Zoom F6. Now in terms of the technical specs, we are talking about 2 microphones with 1 capsule, which is a Hypercardioid capsule. These are a matched pair, and they also have a switch to switch between a low-cut filter and a -10 dB pad. These cannot be used in conjunction of each other. They can only be activated one or the other. So you either have the standard mode with nothing active, the 10 dB pad active, or the low-cut filter active. In terms of other attachments, there are practically none. This one comes with just 1 capsule, and it's the Hypercardioid capsule, and the one is already screwed on top of the microphone. In theory, you could also unscrew this and screw on top other microphone attachments, but this is not included in the set. Now there's a different version of this microphone called the Behringer B5, and that also comes with a different capsule, but also not part of this video. Now in terms of the frequency response, we have 20 to 20,000 kHz. In terms of the sensitivity, we have -41 dB, and the self noise is not specified from the manufacturer. The maximum pressure is specified with 140 dB, the output impedance with 75 ohm, and it needs phantom power of 48 volts. The measurements for one of these microphones with its capsule attached are 20 millimeters in width and 93 millimeters in length, so it's really tiny. The weight of each individual microphone is 72 grams. As you've seen in the beginning, this microphone set comes with 2 microphones, a stereo mounting bracket, 2 microphone holders, as well as 2 pop filters and a plastic case, as we've seen right here. The price of the set is 39 euros, and in the US I found it for 40 US dollars. So it's really, really impressive because basically one of the two microphones alone costs just 20 euros. So if you were to split this between two people, or if you actually want to own two microphones, this is just 20 euros per microphone, and that's really impressive. Before we jump into some sound samples from the front in different distances as well as side and rear rejection, let's talk about the manufacturing and overall packaging. I think again it's really impressive considering the price of this set. For 40 euros, just having this plastic box and of course also the holders, which have metal threads, which also are adapter threads. So you have the huge one as well as the smaller one for microphone stands and stuff like that. And overall, it just is pretty mind-blowing. Now, taking out one of these microphones here, it is a complete metal build. It has a plastic knob right here, and it may be a little hard to gauge which setting is set, but it is also kind of clicking into place. It has the mounting for the XLR port, which are also pretty proper. And if I take apart the top here and unscrew the capsule, you can see how that is built and also how it is connected to each other. The grill in the front is metal and it does feel relatively sturdy. Now, something that I've seen other people complain about with this microphone is that the serial number is a sticker and it's not engraved in some sort, and the sticker can be basically scrubbed away relatively easily when using with a microphone holder, so you have to be a little bit careful with that. But overall, it's really tiny and it makes the sound that you're hearing throughout this whole video already. But now let's jump into some sound samples and listen in how this microphone sounds from different distances as well as from the rear and the side. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging. Now, these are just a handful of sound samples that I've recorded with the Behringer C-2. I will also include a bunch of other ones in the end of this video, and you will find the descriptiveness of what you are going to hear on the video itself. So it's just going to say that in text form. I'm also going to include those chapter markers in the description below so that you can jump around between those tests and see whether or not you like the sound of this microphone. Of course, this is also going to be included in one mega video with comparison between all the other Pencil type microphones that I'm talking about in the coming days. Now, what do I think about this microphone? And I'll have to say, for 40 euros, it's absolutely mind-blowing what you get. However, there are of course also downsides and things to know. On close-up use, it really picks up on wind very, very strongly, and even with the wind foam screen. The other thing is that it has a strong volume loss as you go away from the microphone. So that is really pronounced. Comparing it even with other microphones, it's really interesting that you get that less loud as soon as you go a little further away from the microphone. With that said, it also has the same wind problem when going from the side. So if you want to have this, for example, in a boom pole situation outdoors, you really have to be careful and package this with something that protects it from wind and stuff like that. Then again, it's also not really made for that use case. So that's kind of expected. I'm also trying to measure the noise floor of these microphones. However, that is also dependent on the environment that I'm in. I have a recording of all of these different microphones and I'm comparing the exact same moment in terms of noise floor. And with this here, as you can see on the screen, we reached minus 50 dB on average with that scan. However, I'm not necessarily convinced that that's the noise floor, but much more, it is also the room tone / the sensitivity of the microphone. So a microphone that's less sensitive also is going to have a lower noise floor in this scan. With that said, this is the frequency response of noise that I was measuring in that moment, and stay tuned for the final comparison between those microphones. That's going to be much more interesting. In terms of listening to it, it wasn't really that bad. There are other microphones that sound worse in terms of their self-noise when there's nothing happening and when you're not talking. As you can hear throughout this video, you have been listening to this microphone being used in this YouTube environment in my studio, as I've showed you in the beginning, and it sounds really decent in my opinion. Now, would this be a microphone that I would be choosing? Well, my final verdict will be coming in the finals video of this series in a couple of days from now. But so far, I would say, again, in terms of price, it's absolutely unbeatable. It has an incredible offer and also a sound that is way above its punchline. Now, with all this information, it's time for you to make your own judgment whether or not this microphone is worth it to you, or if it is the right choice. Now, of course, you can always jump to the final review of the series if it's already published. The link will be in the description below to a playlist of all these pencil type microphones that I'm comparing here. Now, if this video was helpful for you in getting to know the Behringer C-2, please leave it a thumbs up so that other people may find this video as well. That helps out a lot for the YouTube algorithm. Also, leave your questions and comments in the comment section down below. I'm going to answer them there or make a video specifically about them. Also, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this as well as on other topics, and I will see you in the next one. Ciao, ciao! Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations 7.59. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations 7.59. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations 7.59. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations 7.59. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations 7.59. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations 7.59. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations 7.59. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations 7.59. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations 7.59. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations 7.59. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations 7.59. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations 7.59. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations 7.59. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations 7.59. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations 7.59.